Hope everybody's having a fantastic Monday so far. Welcome to another edition of JT's Bang Bang Plays. And you know what we do at the top of these videos? We like to recap the biggest story in Major League Baseball over the course of the past week. And no doubt, that is the ability or inability of pitchers to use those sticky substances, the spider tacks, pine tars, all those things that help them control the ball and help the ball move a little bit more than it normally would. And we've seen two different outcomes here on the bad side and then on the good side of some of these starting pitchers over the course of the last week. On the good side, Gerrit Cole throws a gem in Minnesota. Jacob deGrom was, once again, Jacob deGrom against, of all teams, the San Diego Padres at home in Citi Field. We saw Carlos Rodon throw an absolute gem on Sunday against the Detroit Tigers. And also on Sunday, we saw Aaron Nola throw nearly just one inning shy of a complete game shutout against the New York Yankees, who definitely put out a watered-down lineup. Those are the good guys, right? The guys who, regardless of whether or not they were able or using those substances in the past, they seem to not have changed at all, not even a little bit. On the bad side, really interesting stuff over the course of the last week, starting in Milwaukee with that Brewers staff. Definitely taking on a Pirates team that no doubt strikes out not a whole lot and does put the ball in play a lot, but we saw much different versions of Brandon Woodruff on Friday, of Corbin Burnes on Saturday. And then how about Trevor Bauer? Look, here's a guy who was saying all along, hey, you got to legalize this stuff, make it the fair playing field for everyone so that we can all be doing it or none of us can be doing it. Seems like he jumped on that wagon. Now we're going to take a look at his last four starts. And for some of these, you would start and you would say, wow, really difficult matchups, right? In Houston against the Astros, coming off of a 130 pitch performance. At home against the Cardinals. Cardinals, a team that is very, very talented and puts the ball in play and has a lot of home run power, which they used against Bauer. Then he comes into Atlanta, another difficult matchup for Trevor Bauer. But then Saturday night against the Texas Rangers, who had been scoring runs against absolutely nobody, and he gives up 9 hits, 4 earned runs, and takes in early showers. So definitely have to keep an eye on Trevor Bauer. I'm sure he's going to make some adjustments, but it certainly looks as if he was having some assistance from something for the course of that Cy Young season last year. And then Shane Bieber looking just not exactly as sharp as you expect him to look on Sunday against the Seattle Mariners. In his last 4 starts, he's really only looked sharp in that one against the Detroit Tigers. So definitely a story that is very compelling. Major League Baseball is about to finalize the rule. They're going to put out some details about what the discipline will be and what pitchers are allowed to do and not allowed to do. But in the meantime, we have seen an explosion of offense over the course of the last 10 days. And while it's been fun to watch, it's also something that we have to navigate as daily fantasy players. Got the pitching almost right yesterday, almost perfect, I should say, with Aaron Nola and Carlos Rodon in a lot of lineups. But look, if you didn't have the Blue Jays, you simply didn't make any money. But we've got a 13-game slate on Monday that we can turn our attention to with another group of high-priced pitching decisions. A lot of decisions for us to make here. I'll take the top 4 and just talk through what I think I'm going to do, where I think I'm going to be focusing on. Highest price pitcher on DraftKings, Tyler Glasnow at 10.7. He goes into Chicago for a matchup against the White Sox, the National League Central leading Chicago White Sox. And Glasnow has been really good this year, 36% strikeout rate. But on the road, he hasn't had quite the upside as he has had in Tropicana Field at home. The White Sox, a team that strike out only 23% at the time. Below him, you've got Sean Manaea. Manaea priced up now after 2 really, really good starts at 10.1K, taking on the Los Angeles Angels in Oakland. Sean Manaea at 10K in a matchup where the Angels do strike out a fair amount against left-handed pitching, but they also have a ton of power even without Mike Trout. You've got guys in that lineup. Justin Upton from the right side. Taylor Ward has been hitting the ball. And then, of course, you've got Shohei Ohtani, who is really lefty-righty. Pitching against him doesn't matter all that much. So I don't know if I'm going to be paying 10.1 for Manaea on DraftKings. He does look to be low owned at this point, and I think that's probably because a lot of people feel the same way. You move down, you've got Lance Lynn in a matchup at home against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay team that does have certainly some power from the left side in Brandon Lowe and Austin Meadows, but they are striking out 28% of the time, and Lance Lynn has a 28% strikeout rate on the season. And then right below him, you've got a guy that I don't think anybody's going to play, and I couldn't recommend it. Tony Gonsolin, decent pitcher, decent matchup at home against the Philadelphia Phillies, but he's still working his way into shape. And if he goes 5 innings, I think that's the absolute ceiling on him. I want a whole lot more potential out of my 9.1K pitchers. So out of that group, I'm probably going to go with Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn will be the guy that I side with here. The talent, the matchup against the Tampa Bay team that sure has power, but also strikes out a whole lot. The bottom 4 of that lineup in particular, usually showing up with rates in the 30% range in terms of strikeouts against right-handed pitching. Once you get past this range, you go a little lower. You've got Adam Wainwright in a matchup against the Cardinals in St. Louis. It's a park that's not terrible for targeting pitchers. That 8.8 price point, though, is going to be something that I have to consider and think about really hard before I actually press that for Adam Wainwright in a matchup against the Marlins that is a pesky team, very similar to the Detroit Tigers, who I'll talk about here in a second. But in terms of starting pitcher 2, where are our options? It's not exactly pretty, and it's going to be a challenge to pick out one of these guys. I think we're going to have to wait and see what lineups look like. That was a big factor for me yesterday when the Yankees lineup came out, in going with Aaron Nola over guys like Shane Bieber, and even in a guy like Carlos Rodon, who pitched really well. I just thought that Nola had the upside to get into the 7th or the 8th inning, and I talked about that on the Run Pure Sports Sunday morning show. If you're not a member, we've got the shows every day of the week. We've got core plays, a playbook, Discord. Enter code RPS Heater 25 and you'll get 25% off of your first month's payment. But where are we going to go for starting pitcher 2? So I think you can target some matchups in parks that depress offense. Citi Field, park that has a humidor now, and you've got Jake Arrieta and you've got David Peterson there. Look, you're basically targeting the park. You're targeting a environment where it's going to be cool and damp, and we don't expect the ball to fly very far. I don't know how much I trust either one of these pitchers. Peterson has been downright awful. Had a couple of really good starts this year against Tampa Bay and Philadelphia. Everything else has been pretty bad. The Cubs, a team that does strike out 26% of the time against left-handed pitching, but they do have a 202 isolated power over the last 2+ weeks. So definitely some risk there. And we know the risk that we're taking with Jake Arrieta. The thing that we are looking at with him is a 6.9K price point on DraftKings. And again, a park and a team. Look, the Mets aren't giving up a lot of runs, but they're absolutely not scoring a lot of runs either. So maybe Jake can get 6 innings and the Cubs can scratch out a couple of runs and you're looking for a win there. But where else can we look to? Well, another couple of different matchups where you're not going to see a ton of strikeout upside, starting with Alex Wood against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Diamondbacks only striking out 19% of the time against left-handed pitching. You do get the big park advantage for Alex Wood. His price has come down to just 8.5 on DraftKings. And look, Patrick Sandoval, left-handed pitcher for the Angels, did shut down the Diamondbacks in their home park there on Sunday afternoon. Diamondbacks are a little bit healthier now, returning Carson Kelly and Christian Walker from the injured list. So not sure if I'm going to be going to Alex Wood here, but he's definitely in the mix of consideration on Monday's 13-game slate. A couple of other options really quick. Vladimir Gutierrez has looked really, really good for Cincinnati. Man, I stacked up this Milwaukee team on Friday. I stacked them up on Saturday, and they just did not get there. Some of these hitters, you know, they've got these injuries, and the hitters just aren't getting it done. They've got a below-average hitting team, even though they do show up well in the metrics like isolated power and weighted runs creation, but still, they're just not scoring a ton of runs. Vlad against the Brewers on June 9th. 7 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, and 2 earned runs. At his 6.9 price point, that would be just fine on this slate, I think. So he's in consideration. How about a scary matchup? Marco Gonzalez against the Minnesota Twins. Marco coming back from injury. Bit of a down start last time out against the Detroit Tigers, who can hit around left-handed pitching from time to time here. He gets a team with a lot of power, but also a 24% strikeout rate. The Twins going from their home park in Target Field over to T-Mobile Field in Seattle, a big park. It's going to be fairly cool tonight, and we know that they have a humidor in T-Mobile as well. So definitely not going to shy away from at least considering Marco at that 6K price point on DraftKings, especially when we're going to get to stacks, and I like one of the more expensive stacks on the day. Two other spots I'll mention if you are brave. One, look, this guy hasn't put up a usable fantasy performance all season long, but again, maybe you target the matchup. It is a Pirates team that doesn't strike out a lot, and a Pirates team that had a lot of trouble scoring runs over the weekend. Some of that due to decent performances by Woodruff and Burns, but even Adrian Hauser kept them in check on Sunday. This team just isn't doing anything right now. John Lester at 6-7, really tough roster. You're kind of hoping for Lester to get through 5 or 6 innings, get you a couple of strikeouts, maybe give up a run and get the win and get you out the door at 18 to 20 fantasy points. Problem is he just hasn't done that all season long, and I'd be a little bit surprised if he did that tonight for the first time. And then one that I think is going to gain in popularity throughout the day, and a place where I may end up looking to just depending on how the stacks and the lineup shake out. Brad Keller, 6.4K against Detroit at home in Kansas City. Look, Detroit does have a 208 isolated power against right-handed pitching over the last couple of weeks. They do strike out 28% of the time. It is going to be hot and sticky in Kansas City. So, again, none of these secondary pitchers for your starting pitcher 2 spot are absolutely outstanding unless you're going to pay all the way up at starting pitcher 2, which on the slate is a little bit difficult because we've got the stacks that we want to talk about. And the stack that stands out to me, I hate to do it to you guys, but look, the Padres going to Colorado. It's going to be 96 degrees in Colorado. Austin Gomber has pitched really well, but this is a different matchup than he faced a couple of weeks ago in San Diego. This team is now healthy. They showed this over the weekend, starting to come to life. Fernando Tatis Jr. hitting a home run early in that series against the Mets and then hitting a grand slam on Sunday to put them ahead against that Mets bullpen. The Slam Diego Padres look like they're coming alive. Manny Machado hit a home run about halfway out of Citi Field with just one hand. Man, if he takes that same swing in Coors Field, it's going to go all the way to Montana tonight. A couple of guys I like in this matchup. Tommy Pham leading off. He led off the game on Sunday against the Mets in Citi Field with a home run. He's 5K. Manny Machado, 5.3K. Fernando Tatis Jr. at 6.1. Man, I'd probably pay close to 7K for Fernando Tatis Jr. in this matchup. That's how confident I feel about his ability here in Coors Field. Not a bold call, but I do think people will say, well, first game in Coors. But look, they're going from one of the absolute worst environments in Major League Baseball in Citi Field to the absolute best when you consider it's going to be 100 degrees in Colorado this evening. And then Will Myers, 4.4. Myers always shows up at Coors Field, loves playing there, and usually puts up really solid performances there. So I like the Padres tonight. Can't get away from them. I'm sure they're going to be popular, but I have to just be honest and say I think they're the top stack on the night. Couple of other spots that I think we can target offense. Probably going to need to find some cheap hitters, so maybe we're going to be looking to a Jorge Soler or a Hunter Dozier in that Kansas City lineup. Again, it'll be hot there. Matt Boyd, a fly ball pitcher, comes in there. Fly balls for him probably aren't going to stay in the park tonight with that heat in Kansas City. So I do like targeting Dozier and Soler at a minimum against him on Monday night. And then a couple of other options. Los Angeles Dodgers. Man, you can stack these guys up almost every night it seems, but they get Spencer Howard and the Philadelphia Phillies. Coming into Los Angeles, Spencer Howard, fastball velocity has been an issue here. Last couple of times out, 97 miles an hour in the first inning, all the way down to 91 by the third inning. That tells me a couple of things. One, it could be a mechanical issue. Maybe they've been able to fix some of that in bullpen sessions throughout the week. More likely, there's some type of hidden injury or concern there somewhere in Spencer Howard's arm or back. And it's a spot where I think the Dodgers will be able to take advantage. Dodgers are a little bit expensive, except you're going to get some of these platoon guys, so it's always a little bit of a risk stacking them up fully. Cleveland Indians, looks like they're going to get our old friend Dean Kramer for the Baltimore Orioles. All apologies to our Orioles fans in Discord, but Dean Kramer not quite ready for primetime just yet, giving up 2.6 home runs per 9 innings. That leads the slate, and if he gets to start tonight with a bullpen that's bottom 3 in home runs allowed in Major League Baseball over the last 3 weeks, I think the Indians are going to put up some runs here, and the Indians are cheap, particularly guys like Eddie Rosario and Bobby Bradley with that big left-handed power. Perfect type of guy to take advantage of Dean Kramer tonight. And one last spot, Braxton Garrett came up, made his Major League debut last week, and he did not look Major League ready. And he goes into St. Louis. It's a park where I don't love to target offense, but I do like some of these St. Louis Cardinals hitters. One guy very expensive, Nolan Arenado. He's 5'5". On DraftKings, always very, very dangerous against left-handed pitching. And then Paul DeJong made his way back from the injured list. He's just 3.4K. Of course, on DraftKings, if you play him, you can't play Fernando Tatis Jr., who may be my favorite play on the slate, but on FanDuel, you can play them both. Once again, if you're not a member of Run Pure Sports, runpuresports.com, runpurebets.com. We'll have a playbook for this slate, core plays. We've got everybody talking about the slate in Discord. I'll have my own slate strategy up around 6:15 tonight, as well as a group of core plays that I think are going to do well on the slate. Enter RPS Heater 25, get 25% off of your first month's payment. RunPureSports.com. Join it, join the movement, and run pure tonight in your contests.